Jim Rickards discusses a unique and unprecedented scenario that could unfold in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. His insights shed light on the dynamics involving key political figures, potential candidates, and the uncharted territory the nation might find itself in. This video delves into the intriguing possibility of a Trump versus Newsom showdown in a way that only an expert like Jim Rickards can. Gavin Newsom's extraordinary meeting with Xi Jinping 2 days ago. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, met with Xi Jinping, the president of China. Jim Rickards highlights the significance of this meeting, as Xi Jinping has been avoiding Joe Biden's calls and even skipped the G20 summit in New Delhi due to Biden's presence. The fact that Xi Jinping met with Newsom speaks volumes, suggesting that China sees Newsom as a likely candidate for the 2024 U.S. presidential election, representing the Democratic Party. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
Two days ago, Gavin Newsom met with Xi Jinping, who's the president of China, the head of China, most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. Xi Jinping will not return Biden's phone calls. Biden and Tony Blinken and the State Department have been begging Xi Jinping for a meeting. They want a meeting. Xi Jinping will not give them the meeting. Xi Jinping skipped the G20 summit in, I believe it was in New Delhi a couple of months ago because Biden was going to be there and he didn't want to run into Biden in the hall, let alone have a sit-down bilateral meeting. He won't return his phone calls, but he meets with Gavin Newsom. What does that tell you? It tells you that Beijing knows that Gavin Newsom is the most likely candidate for president of the United States in 2024 on the Democratic side, likely to be the next president. And there's a long history. Foreign leaders, if you're running for president, you're not the president, but you're running for president, you get meetings with foreign leaders. You'll go to Israel, obviously Canada, Japan, China, because they want to know you just in case you win. They don't want you win, you get sworn in. They don't want you to be a stranger. So that's not unusual. But the fact that Xi Jinping, who won't return Joe Biden's phone calls, takes a meeting in Beijing with Gavin Newsom tells you that the Chinese are saying what I'm saying, which is they're looking past Biden and they figure Gavin Newsom will be the nominee. Now, and yeah, there are a couple others, Gretchen Whitmer, Jay Pritzker of Illinois, who knows who's going to come out of the woodwork. And everyone will say, well, wait a second, if Biden's in the primaries and gets the delegates, how are those other candidates going to get the delegates? Well, here's the play. Sometime in the spring of 2024, May, June timeframe, a couple of months before the convention, Biden can just release his delegates. He can say, you know what, thinking about it, decided not to run. I've got all these delegates because we didn't allow any competition in the primary. I'm going to release them. And then they have these super delegates who can do whatever they want. They're free agents. And they all wake up the next day and say, we're supporting Gavin Newsom. And then all the released delegates fall into line because they're all Democratic Party operatives. The whole primary process is a joke. But if you say mechanically, how do you get from Biden having a majority of the delegates to Gavin Newsom as the nominee? The answer is you release the delegates. The super delegates pledge to Newsom and they bring everybody along with them. It all happens in 2 months. So get ready for an exciting summer. This will all be kind of May, June, July 2024 timeframe. So now you get into the election. Gavin Newsom's the nominee. Again, it could be Gretchen Whitmer, but Newsom's the obvious choice. Now, Trump will be the nominee. I mean, anything can happen, I guess, but it's not even close. I mean, it's one thing if we were close. Trump is like 50 points ahead. No one's ever seen a lead like this. So just assume Trump's the nominee. I think it's entirely possible. It's not just a guess. I do think it's likely that Trump will be behind bars. Trump will be in a Fulton County, Georgia jail on election day. I still think he's going to be the nominee, and I think he's going to win. So you're going to have this spectacle of Trump with orange hair and an orange jumpsuit, a prison jumpsuit, behind bars in the Fulton County jail, elected the next president of the United States. There's no prohibition on that, by the way. This is not impeachment. There's no prohibition on a convicted felon being elected president of the United States. There just isn't. It's not in the Constitution.
The tradition of presidential candidates meeting with foreign leaders. Jim Rickards explains that historical tradition of presidential candidates meeting with foreign leaders before their potential election. This practice is not unusual, as foreign nations seek to establish relationships with prospective leaders to ensure they are not strangers when they take office. A possible path to Gavin Newsom's nomination. Rickards lays out a strategic plan for Gavin Newsom's path to securing the Democratic nomination. He speculates that Joe Biden could release his delegates just months before the Democratic convention, allowing superdelegates, who are free agents, to throw their support behind Newsom. This unconventional strategy could propel Newsom to the nomination and lead to an exciting summer of political developments. Trump as the Republican nominee. Jim Rickards asserts that it's highly likely that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee for the 2024 election. He emphasizes the substantial lead Trump holds over potential Republican competitors, making his nomination a near certainty.
They may have to give him a supervised release so he can go to the Oval Office. But you're going to have this bizarre situation where Biden gets the delegates. He's, practically, if he's not physically dead, he's practically, what we call legally non-compos mentis, which means you can't think. By the way, an 18-year-old or a 25-year-old who was in Biden's condition would not be allowed to sign a contract. You'd have a guardian appointed by a court, but this guy happens to be president. So Biden steps aside. You might need Kamala Harris. If he even resigns, you might need Kamala Harris to be president for like 6 months so she can pardon the Biden crime family, because Biden can't finish his term. If Trump wins and Biden finishes his term, Biden's not getting the pardon. Trump's not going to pardon Biden and the Biden crime family. So you might need Kamala in there for a couple months just so she can pardon Biden. It's like Jerry Ford, Richard Nixon thing. And then Trump gets sworn in from a jail cell in Fulton County, Georgia. Trump's going to be convicted of a crime. Now, he's got lots of grounds for appeal. The appellate courts may throw it out. It may get reversed. I understand all that. But he's indicted on 90 felony counts or more in 4 different jurisdictions. The jurisdictions have all been handpicked so that the juries are overwhelmingly Democrat, overwhelmingly minority. This is not, I'm trying to think of a good conservative district, maybe Montana or someplace like that. No, Fulton County, Georgia is heavily Democrat. And this is a state proceeding, not a federal proceeding. By the way, the president cannot pardon you from state charges. They can pardon you from federal charges, but not state charges. So they want to convict Trump, put him behind bars. By the way, that's a question. You get convicted and you have appeals, and Trump has very good appeals. I think all these charges, all these indictments are bogus. I mean, they're indictments, but handed up. But I think constitutionally, they're highly defective. But Trump gets convicted. Now, often they'll say, okay, you've got appeals. We'll let you out pending appeal. If the appeal court upholds the conviction, you have to go to jail. But if they overturn it, you're free. And in the meantime, you can be out under, not probation, but, supervised release of some kind. They don't have to do that, though. That's up to the prosecutor and the judge, mostly the judge. The defense can ask for it, but they don't have any power over it. Why is this Georgia Fulton County prosecutor going to do Trump any favors? I mean, she indicted him on, 90 counts or so. So she might just leave him in jail pending appeal, and that's where he might be on election day. So, put on your crash helmets. But Biden's going to step aside, resign, get run off the road. Kamala Harris may be president for a short period of time, or Biden may just struggle through. Gavin Newsom's going to be the nominee, and Trump's going to win, and he'll probably be behind bars. Nothing like it has ever happened in U.S. history, but this is what happens when you weaponize the law. Oh, one other factor, Matt, I'll be brief. There's a wild card here. And why am I so confident saying Trump's going to win? Like, the guy's in jail. Why would he win? The answer is RFK Jr.
Mm-hmm. The shocking prospect of Trump winning from jail in a surprising twist. Rickards introduces the possibility that Trump could be convicted of crimes in multiple jurisdictions and serve time in jail. However, there is no constitutional prohibition against a convicted felon being elected president of the United States, setting the stage for an unprecedented scenario where Trump wins from behind bars. The complex transition from Biden to Newsom. Rickards discusses the potential transition from President Biden to Gavin Newsom, emphasizing that Kamala Harris might need to step in temporarily to pardon Biden if he is involved in legal troubles. This transitional phase could be reminiscent of the Nixon-Ford situation, with Trump ultimately taking office. The role of RFK Jr. as a third-party candidate. Jim Rickards brings a wild card into the mix by introducing the possibility of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running as an independent candidate, potentially splitting the Democratic vote. This could create a situation reminiscent of the Ross Perot and Teddy Roosevelt scenarios, leading to an unpredictable outcome in the 2024 election.
RFK Jr. tried really hard to play it as a straight Democrat. Who's more Democrat than the Kennedy family? The answer is nobody. But and he's declared, he's going to run for the Democratic nomination against Biden, et cetera. They rigged the election calendar. They said, I'm in New Hampshire right now. I'm kind of sitting here, I'm looking at Maine, but I'm in New Hampshire. They said any Democrat who even sets foot in New Hampshire is going to lose all their New Hampshire delegates. Same thing in Georgia. They did everything possible to make it impossible for RFK Jr. to run a straight race. So RFK Jr. goes independent. RFK Jr. is getting, depends on the poll, but he's getting like 15%. This is not 5% or 1%. He's not like Mike Pence, who's kind of getting 1% in the polls. It's like 15%, maybe sometimes as high as 20. There are polls showing that 35% of Democrats would vote for RFK Jr. as an independent. See, the Democrats don't want Biden either. Will they come home for Gavin Newsom? I don't know, but there's a big chunk of Democrats who say, we're with RFK Jr. if he goes as an independent. We're kind of done with the Democratic Party. Well, this is comparable to 1992 and 1912. Those are the most successful third-party candidates in the last, 120 years, or 120 years. It was Ross Perot in 1992 and Teddy Roosevelt in 1912. What happened was that the third party split, the third party candidates split the vote with, in both cases, it was the Republicans who lost. So Teddy Roosevelt and William Taft got Teddy Roosevelt got just under 20%. Taft got about 35%. Together, they were the majority. They were 55%. But Taft had to split the vote with Roosevelt, and Woodrow Wilson won with only 41% of the vote. Wilson got 41% of the vote, not even close to a majority, but he won because the Republicans split the vote because of the third party. By the way, Woodrow Wilson gave us the income tax and the Federal Reserve, so thank you, Woodrow Wilson. 1992, I met with James Carville. I talked to him. I was, long story, but I was very involved with the Clinton campaign for business reasons, because we were doing a lot of lobbying at the time on business deals. But I had a private meeting with a small group, including James Carville. And at the time, Ross Perot was leading in the polls. George H.W. Bush was second, and Bill Clinton was third. And I'll never forget, Carville said, we got him right where we want him. I was like, wait, you're third. How do you have them right where you want them? And he said, Perot is going to fade. Bush has peaked, and we're going to pick up the fade and beat Bush. And that's exactly what happened.